Hi, today I'm here with Dr. Kristin Joy Carothers, clinical psychologist again.
I'm so happy to be back again. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so here's what I wanted to talk about with you today. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. There's a lot of conversation about Juneteenth in the news. For some of us, it's new. It's a new concept. Tell us a little bit about what it means to you.
Okay, so I'll start with the concept of Juneteenth being new I think it's new to many people, people who are not Black, people who are Black but do not have not been educated about what it is. And so basically, I will explain what it is. It's a celebration that started in Texas. And the reason that it was necessary to celebrate this holiday was that when slaves were freed in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation, the information was not given to slaves in Texas. From what I understand, there were no Union soldiers, or there was a lack of Union soldiers in Texas. So many of the people who were Southern plantation owners who held land in other states fled to Texas because they knew the Union did not have representation in Texas as of yet, and they were still operating, I guess, as the Confederacy, and slavery was ongoing. So basically, people who were enslaved in Texas were not given the information that they had been freed until 1865, June 19th of 1865. And so for people whose roots are in Texas who are Black, Juneteenth or June 19th has always been a time of celebration. For those of us who are descendants of the enslaved who lived in other areas of the country, we may not have known about this celebration or participated in it. The first time I think I became aware of it was as a freshman at Howard University, which is a historically Black college or university, HBCU. And I met people who were from Texas and learned about Juneteenth and the celebration from them.
When you were at Howard, what was that like? Is it a celebration?
We weren't even in school in June.
Oh,
school is out in May. And so it wasn't even a celebration that I ever got to see. When, part of the historically Black college experience is that being Black is a part of everything that happens in terms of your education. So while all of your professors may not be Black, you are with people from across what we call the African diaspora. So that is Black people who have regional differences in terms of being from the North versus being from the South versus being from the East Coast versus being from the West Coast. People who are West Indian or from the what we would call the West Indies or Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, people who are from the African continent, so West Africa. We are all in one place, and we learn that there are great differences amongst us. So I think one of the things that happens is that many people now may think that all Black people have the same experience. We come from very different experiences, but the theme that we've all experienced, I would say, is some level of racism. So here comes Juneteenth. And with what happened with George Floyd's murder, and with the consistent murder and brutalization of Black people by the police, with the level of white supremacy that exists in this country, Black people are now saying, why are we celebrating July 4th, 1776 as our Independence Day when we were enslaved that day? We in the United States were not truly all free until June 19th of 1865. So we need to consider that that is our date of emancipation, and that is the date that we are now free, okay? So we're gonna shift our mindset from July 4th celebrations to Juneteenth celebrations. Okay, I know I'm talking about it, but here's my thing. Lots of major corporations have jumped on this bandwagon. And I think for me, I am on the one hand, happy that this is being acknowledged, that Juneteenth is being acknowledged, that a wrong that was done to Black people is being acknowledged, right? And that we are finding a way to celebrate out of something that was meant for our bad, right? On the flip side, I am slightly mistrustful of what corporations and other entities will do after they celebrate Juneteenth, okay, or after they acknowledge this time. So it's great for us to have some outward display, but what are we going to do systemically to make sure that this doesn't happen again, that Black people actually benefit from corporations acknowledging something like Juneteenth, okay? So right now, if we think about 5 years ago, to say Black Lives Matter was offensive to many of these corporations, many of these entities. And now we're getting press releases about them being in support of it. And so what I want all people to know is that some Black people may be mistrustful of people's adoption of Juneteenth. If you are going to adopt it by also saying, hey, I'm going to actually do something to push this forward. I'm just not going to pick this one day and say, hey, this is a good day for Black people. We're going to give our employees the day off with pay. For what? To what end?
So let's start with what you're going to be doing today.
Okay, so today, I hope to be able to join an event that's happening at the state capitol in Georgia that's actually being hosted by some attorneys in the state, which was a movement where they're asking everyone to wear Black masks and Black shirts and to go to the state capitol. I am hoping that we will be able to be safe. It's something that I would like to take my child to. I have my concerns about coronavirus and the pandemic, but up to this point, I have not been physically active or engaged in an outward show, and I'd like to do that. I think most importantly, I want to spend the day educating my child about why this is important. I want to spend the day having conversations with people that I know and that I don't know about what needs to happen to move us forward. So that's my plan for the day, is to educate my child, so to start in my home and then to work my way outward in a healthy and safe manner as much as possible.
So, there is this kind of great and worry going on at the same time about white people jumping on board with this. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to white teenagers in particular? What can they do to acknowledge, celebrate, commemorate that day?
I think for white teenagers, it's really important that they just support and acknowledge their friends, that they try to start at home. So at home, perhaps you read something about the history of Juneteenth and share it with the people in your household. You're not forcing anybody to do anything. You're not saying you got it, but you are sharing information that is historically accurate, okay? So educate yourself. For your friends who are Black, say, just want you to know that I recognize this is Juneteenth. And what I've done is I'm reading up on it. I just wanted to acknowledge this. One of the things I always want you to remember, teenagers, white parents, is that when you approach your Black friends, your Black colleagues, some colleagues and friends may be super excited that you've acknowledged this. Some may be mistrustful. Some may be angry. There are a range of emotions that people may experience when you reach out to them, and that's okay. This is not easy. This is hard for Black people. This is hard for white people, okay? So it may not be all warm and fuzzy. That doesn't mean we don't try. We still reach out. We still keep going, because if we're ever going to trust each other, it's going to take us being consistent and coming out of our comfort zones and being willing to have conversations that are hard.
That is really helpful to hear. I want to ask, in terms of how we package the day.
Yes.
Like, would this be a day that you would call a celebration, a commemoration? Are there going to be somber moments during this day?
I think given what's going on right now in our current political context, and with since George Floyd's murder, how many people have been murdered? 5 people have been found hung from nooses on trees. 2 in California. A Black girl lost her life. She graduated from high school this year. She lost her life in Akron, Ohio, while driving her grandmother to the store. There's going to be somber moments. There may be angry moments. This was a celebration of Black people becoming free. But now within that freedom, there is so much disparity. There's death. We may not be safe. I'm actually scared to go to a protest because I don't know how police will respond. I don't know if I will be safe or my child will be safe. So there will be some tension. I hope that there can be celebration, and that we as Americans are trying to be honest and acknowledge and repair. And I don't have all the answers. So I think when you approach this, you try to approach it in a positive manner, but be aware that there are going to be a range of emotions that people are going to experience about this. Remember, this is 500 years in the making, right? This didn't start yesterday. It's not going to be over overnight.
Do you think texting a friend and saying, I'm thinking of you is...
I think you do what's genuine and what you would normally do. If it's a text and that's how you all communicate, that's what you do. If it's a DM and that's how you normally communicate, that's what you do. If it's a phone call, you do what is genuine and what is typical of how you and that person interact. We want it to be genuine. If it's genuine, people are more likely to trust.
Dr. Kristin Joy Carothers, I don't know how to thank you enough for being here and talking to us and helping forge a new future with us together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.